This is a bit of a weird, a weird release for both myself and Xbox. Now, I've played about an hour of Grounded, the new survival online multiplayer game from Obsidian Entertainment and Microsoft Game Studios. I just thought I'd, talk a little bit about it for a couple of minutes, see how long I can get in another more, unscripted kind of thing. I'm just kind of giving my raw thoughts on what I've played of the game, what I think of it, at least in its early stages. Now, please do keep in mind, Grounded is on Game Pass or through Game Pass, on the game preview, and on Steam in early access. It's not set to be properly released until sometime in 2021. Now, the game itself takes more of a Subnautica approach to the survival open world. It's not a lot like something like Minecraft that you may be more familiar with. It's got more story to it. You have a reason for why you're small, a reason for why you're trying to get out of your tiny or giant garden, in which you play as one of 4 of set characters, at least as of now, those being Max, Willow, Pete, and Hoops. None of them, from what I've played and gathered, really give any kind of edge above the other. They do have unique voice lines and other things like that, but outside of that, each of them play pretty much the same. The game is also, I think, a lot more difficult than other survival games in this kind of genre, in the crafting, open world, survival kind of thing. It's a lot less instinctive, I guess. You play a game like Minecraft, your first thought is break things, and that's how you kind of get going. In this, there's a quest system, there's an inventory system. Although there's an inventory system in most survival games, this adds a quest series to it. You have an end goal in this game. Again, much like Subnautica, so you may start the game under the impression of, I'm gonna shoot for the story as much as I can. But the one good thing about this game and the way its story is set up, for you to kind of progress through it, you have to craft. You have to do the other kind of stuff. You have no choice. Which I think is kind of cool, actually. I think they could have very easily gone, you can either have the minimalist approach to it, and you can do, barely anything in the survival crafting side of things. We can go all out, but you kind of have to do a mix of both, and kind of how far you stray into the crafting side of things is kind of down to you. One thing I will say is that the enemies all being bugs and things of the like is, again, fun, it fits, it makes sense. Spiders, there is a arachnophobia scale that you can have if you do have arachnophobia, so you can make spiders look less like spiders. They can either be full-on spiders, granted they are stylized to fit the game's aesthetic, but they are still, they look and sound like spiders, or you can make them just 2 floating white circles with eyes. Which is, nice for people who may suffer from arachnophobia. I personally don't, so I'll probably have an arachnophobia warning on the front of this video. But that's a nice thing to say. Outside of that, everything is themed pretty well. I do like that you don't get weapons. Unlike some other survival games, when you build things like weapons, it looks conceivable that the teens you play as could make it. Everything looks rough enough that it looks like a bunch of kids, or a kid, could have made it. One that's kind of had a bit of survival training, I guess. There's that little bit that we have to kind of think, would a kid know that much? But there is enough there that I think the style works really well with that setting and with that playable character set. Outside of that, the environment is really interesting. It's a set map. It's not something that's, I believe it's not at least procedurally generated. I believe it is just a set map. You do get landmarks around. I spawned in, assuming it's not procedurally generated, you spawn in, you walk out of your little kind of tunnel bit that you start off in, and you met with a baseball, and that becomes a landmark. And you do fill your map with landmarks, kind of work your way around. You don't get to set any markers to tell you which direction to go. You do have to keep looking back and forth at the map, which is a bit, I assume that's something they'll fix later down the line, because even Minecraft at this point has waypoints that you can look at through maps and stuff, I believe, unless that's modding. That might be a mod. But yeah, everything about Grounded, I don't have much more to say, to be honest. It's not something you can really go super in depth into. It is a survival open world multiplayer game. And I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it'll be a lot more interesting to see where it's at come the official release, the official version release, and then the updates Obsidian make to it. I think modding as well could be pretty interesting. I think the modding community could kind of give this game a life of its own longer than it would have. I think this isn't going to be like Minecraft, same as Subnautica. I think this will have a big boom, and then it'll very much simmer down. And I think the modding community could kind of keep it going, and that'd be really interesting to see if modding is supported down the road and how that kind of affects the game. Yeah, outside of that, Grounded is a lot of fun. It's if you've got Game Pass especially, I think it's definitely worth picking up and playing. If you don't and you want to get it either on Xbox or PC through the Xbox launcher or through Steam, you do have to pay for it. I'm not too sure I'd suggest doing that. I don't think it's quite worth it, at least in this stage. There are some lag issues. In the gameplay you're seeing here, we did eventually start base building. Before that, we were completely fine. I was playing with my friend Nick. He lives in and is from Germany, so we do have connection issues sometimes when we try and do stuff like this. But it was fine until we started building base stuff. Base stuff is where the game really does kind of chug, and you start to... It doesn't affect gameplay, at least on my end, at least on the hosting end. But, his character model was kind of darting around all over the place. But again, the game's in game preview, it's in early access. It's not going to be finished for about another year. And I would like to actually come back to Grounded maybe once or twice with updates and stuff like that. But yeah, I think if you have Game Pass, definitely pick Grounded up. If you don't, I don't think I could narrowly and definitively say to get it. Although, if you like this kind of game, you will more than likely like Grounded. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. I've been talking a lot about Xbox shit recently on this channel. I need to change that. Jesus Christ.